Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 o'clock, right on the dot. Welcome to the DeForest Neighborhood Association meeting. My name is Dan Pressburg. I am the president, and the lovely young lady that you're looking at right now is Joni. So, the one waving. Beauty before age. Since I'm old, I don't want to freak you out. So, we do not have our visitors from the North Station. And I noticed that I'm waiting to see what we get from either Rex or Jonathan or Matt. So, for the 9th station. So,
Matt is here.
Yeah, I see it. So, all we need now is the update from District 9.
I believe
Are we ready?
I believe our main speaker tonight is actually using Matt's login. So I don't think Matt.
That does not look like Matt.
Right. Ryan, while we're
you can unmute him.
Dan, I was gonna say, oh, go ahead, Shaheen.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Joni. How are you, sweetie? Matt, thanks for having me. I just didn't want to interrupt. I am here, but my name says Matthew, but that's fine with me. If you guys are okay with that.
That's fine.
Matt probably sent you the link that he registered under, so thus it showed up as his name.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, no. Okay, and then we have Matt off to the right.
So there's two Matts. Yeah.
Nice going. I saw you and your twin.
I wanted to grow up to be like him. There it is. He fixed it.
Oh, man.
There it is. I was enjoying your reputation, Matt.
I was going to say,
oh, look at that.
You've got that
nice background. The Uptown Commons.
Absolutely, man. Got to represent.
I'm glad you just came on because now you get to give the report for the 9th district. Thanks.
Oh, no, man. I'm ready to go. You know me.
There you go. You're on.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Well, what's going on, everybody? Ryan, Joni, see a few
There's
people.
people coming in all the time, so don't worry about it.
Gotcha.
We've got about 13 people right now, and there's more coming.
Okay, perfect. Well, what's going on, everybody? I know a lot of you, but just as a reminder, this is Matt Hamlet. I'm Councilmember Richardson's Chief of Staff, and I just wanted to provide a few community updates. So the first one, because it happened today, and I saw in North Long Beach News, was the fire on the 91. So there was a fire, and there's still investigations around the Caltrans right away around the 91 freeway. This, like I said, is still under investigation, trying to figure out exactly what caused it. But we're pretty certain, and I mean, as you know, a lot of our neighbors have seen that this had something to do with the lack of maintenance that we've seen by Caltrans. So there have been complaints that have been fielded by our office regarding people experiencing homelessness, trash, et cetera, around that area, which is unacceptable. But it is also something that we've been struggling with as a council office. And just as a city as a whole, you know, it's not just a 91 issue. It's not just around the 710 issues. Your neighbors a little bit south of you have been experiencing around the 405, but we really have to get serious about it. So Councilmember Richardson has been engaging our state leaders up here. So, you know, Assemblymember Gibson, Speaker Raymond, but it's time to take it up to the next level. So what, you know, Councilmember Richardson's the chair of the State Legislation Committee, and he's just posed to all of them that we need to come up with a solution because, you know, as, you know, we navigate through COVID, you know, the current status of these on-ramps are obviously, you know, have concerns regarding community cleanliness, but we're starting to see public safety issues too. So, you know, I'll hopefully have some meaningful updates in the coming months regarding progress on the issue, but, you know, I want to assure everybody that we're on it. The reports of the fire show that there weren't any there weren't any injuries, and to my understanding that there were no businesses harmed or structures harmed as well. I see a question in the chat regarding where it was. My understanding is that it was off of Long Beach Boulevard and the 91, so closer to Artesia. So there was a bunch of smoke, so I know that a few people had some questions. Next community update. This last Tuesday was a really big council meeting, specifically for Uptown. So one thing that we've been engaging all of you on is the up plan. The up plan is something that has been in the works for years. Going back to when Councilmember Neal was representing this area, and my current boss, Councilmember Richardson, was the chief of staff. And really, what the vision is hey, we need to update things that we can build in our community, as well as just building uses to better reflect the community. As we know, our community, they're just where it's built and the way that it's done has caused some issues regarding attracting businesses and making sure that we can create pedestrian-friendly corridors. So what the first step of Up Plan, which was approved by the City Council on Tuesday, does is it creates several new rezoned areas that will push for more mixed use development and neo industrial, just a bunch of things that will hopefully make it so that we create a more pedestrian friendly and more community centered neighborhood. This first step was specifically around the Atlantic corridors, the Atlantic corridor and the Artesia corridor. So one of the biggest things that people are highlighting is that with the zoning changes, and we want to highlight our planning commissioner and DeForest Park Neighborhood Association, Joni, member Joni, for helping lead on this, is that there aren't going to be any more drive-throughs in terms of new construction. So the existing ones will continue to exist. This won't impact any existing development that's in the works. But what we heard loud and clear for folks is that they want more sit-down style restaurants. They want more opportunities to visit their, really engage and have places where they can see their neighbors in a coffee shop or, like I said, in a sit-down restaurant. So that is just one of the things. We're really hoping that this spurs investments in active transportation and open space. So we're really excited for what this means for the next 10, 20, 30 years in Uptown. Another item that was approved were the design contract for the Great Artesia Boulevard project. So what this is going to be, it's a multi-million-dollar investment in Artesia. And I know we've been talking about it a bunch, and it feels like it's been going really slow, but it's finally here in terms of getting the designs, and hopefully the subsequent steps will be construction. So what that's going to do is the streets are going to get paved, and we really want to make sure that Artesia, given that it's one of the first major streets that a lot of people hit when they're coming into North Long Beach, just given that it's adjacent to the 91, that it is a representation of the investment that's coming into Uptown. So those were big things from council. I have a small list here. The last thing I wanted to highlight were the upcoming changes to the health order around COVID-19. So we've received a number of calls about this as well. So for those of you that don't know, the state of California, Governor Newsom issued an emergency order that reverted counties that had been moving into the higher tiers. So more opportunities for reopening under the state's plan back to purple because of the spikes that we're seeing, not only in California, but statewide. So actually today it was announced that this coming week, non-essential businesses have specific hours that they can stay open. My understanding is that they can't stay open after 10 o'clock. And there's a statewide, the request is that everyone wear a mask regardless of their activity outside, unless you have a number of circumstances that impact health, et cetera. These things get kind of wonky and nuanced. So I want to make sure that our office is a resource regarding specific questions. I've had people call about, what's going on in our schools. What does this mean for, our faith-based institutions? I don't always have the answer, but what I can do is I can connect you with the information that will clarify things. So a lot of these issues are fluid. And we're in this together. We're all neighbors, and we'll get through this. So just kind of taking things as they come, and as information becomes available, I will be sure to keep DeForest and the rest of our neighborhoods engaged. So those are just some high-level updates for us. Like I said, just to recap, the 91 freeway, just highlighting just the facts around what happened today. A big council meeting where we approved the planning future for the next 30 years in Uptown, as well as investments in Artesia Boulevard. And our office is a COVID-19 resource as we continue to fight this pandemic. And just one last thing, I can't believe I almost forgot this, but this weekend we are hosting another food distribution at Jordan High School. Saturday at 9 a.m. from 9 a.m. to 12. So we're partnering with the Community Action Partnership of Orange County, as well as the Long Beach Center for Economic Inclusion to put this on. So if you have those that are in need this holiday season, we're getting close to Thanksgiving, please encourage them to go up to Jordan High. If you have time to volunteer, we have a lot of youth that have offered to volunteer, but what we're really looking for are adults if they're available. So please contact me, or the primary contact is Alana Grant in our office. Many of you know her, but I'll include her email in the chat, so that if you have time to come back and give back to our Uptown community this Saturday, once again, from 9 to 12, we need all the help that we can get. So that's it on my end. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
So I have one for you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
With the different stylings of architecture on Artesia Boulevard, are you going to maintain some history there? Or are you guys going to tear down, just raise it? That's number one. And number two, are you guys going to this time abide by CEQA and stay within those rooms and do some adaptive reuse, which we seem to be devoid of these days?
Dan's always coming with the hard-hitting questions. So
that's not a hard-hitting question. That's the logical one.
No, absolutely. They can be both. I'll take the first one because I'm in no way, shape, or form a SQL expert. I'd have to do some research and get back to you.
Just look at the library. That's a good example.
Gotcha. I can circle back with you on that. Regarding maintaining some of the historic aspects of Artesia Boulevard, it was the design contract that was approved. So as much as we're excited to get shovels in the ground, we still have an opportunity to work with the design contract person that's been hired by the city and whose contract has been approved by the council to say, hey, these are some of the things that we need to see. Of course, we have kind of the high level, hey, street resurfacing, bulb outs, et cetera. But obviously, there are things that we want to make sure are maintained that represent the history in our areas. So I can, what I can do, Dan, is once we figure out, or not figure out, I'll get the contact information for the person handling the design contract for Artesia. I'm sure that he'll be meeting with the council member, and I'll put that on my list of things to highlight to make sure that we give him clear direction about some of the things that we want to see incorporated in the new design.
Thanks, Matt. I'll take it from here.
Yep.
Thank you for that comment. Councilmember Rex Richardson here, folks.
Yay!
I was busy day, but I wanted to accept Ryan's invitation, or whoever sent the invitation. I wanted to make some time to get in here and check in. I look forward to participating in the talk. I see my good friend Shaheen here. A lot of exciting stuff. But just to answer your question, Dan, to be clear, 2 different things were happening on Tuesday, both incredibly significant for Artesia Boulevard and for Atlantic Avenue. So the Artesia Great Boulevard project is just the public right-of-way. So that's from the edge of your business all the way to the median, right? So that's going to get a complete overhaul. So they're going to widen sidewalks where we can fit it. We're going to take out those green buoys and put in permanent bike infrastructure that looks a lot better, more aesthetically pleasing. We're going to dig into signal synchronization. We're going to dig into pedestrian lighting. These are all public right-of-way things to make the corridor safer, more appealing, and help the curb be managed better. There's a whole concept around curb management, right? So drop-offs, pickups, transit, bikes, everyone's fighting for the curb. We've got to, this will allow us to have a more efficient curb system on a corridor like Artesia. So it's a big deal. Over $17 million of investment in Artesia. The other part of it was Upplan Phase 1, which is the zoning. The zoning is from the sidewalk into the business. What is allowed there? And this is, many of you were involved. It's a big deal. This allows, we created an entirely new zoning chapter, Title 22 in the city. And this is significant because this is going to be the backbone for the entire city. The entire city will either adapt some of these zones where appropriate or add new zones into this new chapter. So it's a big deal. It started with Artesia Boulevard, Atlantic Avenue. The types of things that it does is, we've heard for many, many years, drive-throughs are not favorable, liquor stores are not favorable. We need incentives to attract more quality food, more healthy food options, grocery, neighborhood serving markets, those sorts of things. So it has incentives built in that says you won't be approved if you're proposing a drive-through on Artesia Boulevard. We've got enough. You won't be approved. The way ABC happens, there's a formula that says, looks at your census tract, and if you don't have enough of a certain liquor license, then you get a recommendation to get a liquor license. That's no way to approve liquor licenses. You have to have neighborhood context in there. So what it does is, it instead of making it based on census tracts, it takes another look and says, hey, we have an over concentration of off-sale liquor. So it deprioritizes off-sale liquor. Those are liquor stores. You buy it, you walk off, right? But we don't have any on sale. We don't have any restaurants with actual liquor. Restaurants need liquor and beer and wine to thrive. So we were able to add that context. So these are the types of things that went in there. So together on Artesia Boulevard is consequential because we took care of the public right-of-way, the public infrastructure, and we set the foundation for the private sector to develop over the next 30 years, develop the feel, the neighborhood feel for Artesia Boulevard. So it's not take everyone out, like you said, raise Artesia. There's no money going into leveling or taking things out. This is just saying, as things turn over naturally over time, how do we incentivize the things that the neighborhood wants and disincentivize the things the neighborhood has too much of? That's essentially what the plan does.
Okay, hey, Rex.
Clarify for you, Dan?
That was fine, but there's one thing missing.
What's that?
You're talking about design guidelines. You're also going to have design guidelines that articulate a vocabulary to the neighborhood, number one. And number two, some type of paint styling. I love Pepto-Bismol pink. It's just my favorite color. If you knew how many things of Pepto-Bismol pink I painted out in 30 years, you would just love it too. So that's what I'm saying. Along with your building design guidelines, please, let's pretend that we belong at the beach and get some colors out here that represent us in the neighborhood and pull it all together, please.
Right.
I know you're laughing at me, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, good. No, this is going to make the neighborhood way more cohesive. You have sections of Atlantic where you have an automotive chop shop next to a drive-through burger stand. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? This allows you to have some consistency on the corridor, some design standards, setbacks, all of those things are taken into consideration. So It's actually pretty impressive. I think this is going to win an American Planning Association award. I honestly do. There's some things that have never been done that we're incentivizing through parking and other things. There's some things that are being done that are really impressive here. But if there are no more questions, I want you guys to get back to your program. I'll be here.
Well, since you're here, and we don't have anybody, I don't see anybody from Nanette's office yet. Your timing, of course, was impeccable.
Dan,
Yeah.
Sean Kearns is from Representative Barragan's office, actually.
Is he here? I don't see his.
Yeah.
I don't see his.
You may not see his face, but he's been here the entire time.
Hi, Dan.
Okay, good. Bring him on, and then we'll let Rex introduce Shaheen.
All right.
Oh, there he is.
Hi, folks.
Take it away.
My name is Sean Kearns, and I'm from the office of Congressmember Nanette Barragan. I want to thank the association for inviting the Congresswoman to attend this meeting this evening. Unfortunately, she is on the East Coast and already had an impacted schedule, but she certainly looks forward to joining a future meeting. Also, thank you, Councilmember Richardson and Matt, for that great update. Always wonderful to think, rather hear of the major developments going on in Uptown, and your stewardship is certainly commendable of that.
Appreciate that.
To provide an update on some of the work that Congressmember Barragan has been doing on behalf of her constituents, including some bills that she has recently introduced, some successes within the House, and then some services for constituents that I just wanted to make everyone aware of. We always want to make sure that from a district office standpoint, our #1 goal is to be communicating with our community members and responding to their needs. So to get into some of the recent legislation to be introduced by the Congresswoman, last month, she introduced the Energy Resilient Communities Act. This is a bill that would provide grants through the Department of Energy to support the development of clean energy microgrids for the support of critical community infrastructure. So these grants could be utilized towards developing clean energy microgrids for schools, hospitals, senior centers, community centers, and fire departments, just to name a few different possibilities. And there would be a prioritization to give funding to environmental justice communities. Additionally, the cost share requirement for environmental justice communities would be much lower at only 10%. 90% of their project would be funded through this federal grant. So that was introduced last month. Again, it's the Energy Resilient Communities Act. And I'll go ahead and get my email in the chat box in case anyone has any questions later at another date that they want to follow up on. I'd be glad to do so. Another bill that the Congresswoman recently introduced is to rename the post office located on Willowbrook Avenue in the city of Compton, to rename it after one of our community heroes, Private First Class James Anderson Jr. The Private First Class is the first African-American Marine to receive the Gold Medal of Honor. And he had served in Vietnam and prior had attended Centennial High School and LA Harbor College. So that bill was introduced last month. A recent success that just came across earlier this week was that a bill that the Congresswoman had introduced, the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Endowment Revitalization Act. This would be a bill that would reinstitute the grant program for critical research into minority health disparities. We think a number of the institutions around our community, including Charles Drew University, will be applicable for this funding, and that it could certainly bring a tremendous benefit to our community. I also just wanted to provide an update that the IRS is soon going to be closing the opportunity for individuals who have not received the economic impact payment, otherwise known as the stimulus check, for individuals who didn't normally file taxes. So that could include SSI recipients, college students who aren't considered dependents, and of course, people who were incarcerated. The last day for them to use the IRS non-filer tool in order to receive their payment is coming up on this Saturday. So it's a couple days left for them to do so. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And if anyone has any questions, I'm certainly glad to answer. Thank you.
You still there, Dan? I think Dan may have disappeared. That's okay. We'll move forward with the meeting. So thank you for that, Sean. And we'll make sure.
Hey, Sean, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Sorry,
We
Joni.
can hear you now, Dan.
Okay. What I was asking is if the Congresswoman would be available in February.
In February? Yes, if you could please, maybe at another time, provide the exact time and date, and I'd be glad to get that onto her calendar.
Okay, great. I will do that. You'll have it tomorrow.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Rex, are you still there?
I am reporting for duty, Dan.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I would appreciate the introduction.
All right. Well, folks, you know, there's many of you I've seen posting about, you know, recent restaurants we've opened, and Joni can't stop going over there because her social media is lit up. She's been bragging about the ramen, and she's been talking about, you need to check out Pacific Seafood Company. I don't know if you caught that one yet, but it's pretty good.
It wasn't every time I've been there, it hasn't been open yet, but I'm
There's soft opening. The schedule isn't great, but I've seen what they're gonna do with the place in terms of decoration. It's gonna look kind of like a 50s hotel. It's really, really incredible. But that's the appetizer. That's the appetizer. We've been laying the groundwork for a lot of incredible projects, and I have to tell you, the main course is the beat. We've been working with the lab for quite some time. We've worked on, you know, we took many of you out to Shaheen's site, the packing district in Anaheim, so you can see the level of care and attention that he provides with his developments. When he introduced himself to us, you know, a couple years ago, he says, you know, I never abandon a project, and we've gone through a global pandemic and a recession, and he's kept his word. He hasn't abandoned this project, and he's made the adjustments necessary to keep moving forward. So we're really looking forward to this project, and I want to introduce Shaheen Sadeghi. He's the principal at Lab Holdings, and you know, I'm happy to be. He's got a presentation, but I'm happy to contribute as needed. So Shaheen, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Rex. Well, thanks everybody for the invitation this evening. And, you know, I always learn something, obviously, just being a part of the community here, learning from you guys. I think, you know, the first order here is that I sincerely want to thank the people way before us, including Council Member Richardson and Matt and others at the city who really just been planning and setting the platform for us to be able to have the opportunity to work in this area in Long Beach. And look, you know, I'm not sort of a big government guy, but, you know, I'm working with at least a half a dozen cities, and I would sincerely say that, you know, I've never seen anybody as involved and as passionate as Councilmember Richardson is. I mean, he's just, you know, on top of his game, and just the way he interacts with us, and, you know, I know his decisions and his support come from the heart. So I am sincerely appreciative of that. we've been working the last couple of years plus on this site. The site that I really want to sort of focus on tonight, which is sort of perhaps the most important for us, because it's across from the Michelle Obama Library, and I also think it will really be the catalyst to sort of get everything else activated up and down the street. I'm happy to inform that we are well in our way on this development. We're looking at about 84 townhomes here with some retail and restaurants. Currently, there's about 4,600 square foot of restaurants and cafe. I know that Councilmember Richardson really wanted to bring some sort of organic cafe style in the corner, non-chain type of a more of a neighborhood. So I'm really excited to really share that we're able to do that.
And not to interrupt you, but we have some renderings of that. Would you like us to share that?
Sure. Yes, okay. Absolutely. We can do that. Thank you, Joni. So this is looking at Atlantic Boulevard and South Street, directly across from Michelle Obama Library. One of the things that I really want to just share with you folks is, with our development, we go through a lot of sort of planning and design, and I'm always a little hesitant about just throwing stuff out there because I don't want to show one thing and build something else. Our reputation obviously is very important to us. And it takes us a little bit longer to figure things out because we try to not to build things that are just look like 3 years or 5 years ago. So with that said, we're still working on the architecture of this and looking for some freshness and newness. So by the time this hits the market, we really want it to have great impact. But this is the type of a cafe in the corner that we're planning. And if you look to the right side of this drawing, there's a couple of sort of greenhouse looking buildings. So one of the ideas here is instead of making this like traditional mixed use, which I always have struggled with, where there's residents upstairs and you have restaurants with sort of, glass storefronts at the ground floor. I'm not sure how much community that creates, quite honestly, and much of the ground floor ends up not getting leased to the proper uses. So here what we're doing, we're basically congregating all of the retail and restaurants into these greenhouses on the right-hand side. And so it creates this sort of a garden, outdoor, indoor area, which I think would really have a lot more impact. The angle parking is something else that I wanted to discuss. I know it's something that Councilmember Richardson has really been helping us out with. We do not have that approved at this point. I think it's just, we're really pushing hard with the city to see if we can have the angle parking. I personally would love to see this whole section just slow down just to create the village and make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly and just to create a little bit more outdoor space, and particularly here with these restaurants and a cafe. I think the idea of, not having to pull into a parking structure to go get a cup of coffee is really important. So we're still working on the street format, but in terms of the development, I think this gives you some idea of, of what we're looking at. I think there's a few other slides. Thank you. I think this also gives you, these are townhouse style, so they're not sort of stacked up apartments. And so this gives you a little bit more of a flavor of, trying to create that neighborhood village look. It's something, you would see maybe in Brooklyn, in areas that there's just a real sense of neighborhood. Next slide, please. I think this is the view in the back off of Linden Avenue. So this is the view that's from the alley. So much of the driveway and parking you can kind of see from sort of the back end. And again,
much better view than what you guys have right now, or looking at right now from Linden.
You mean you don't like the dirt lot? I appreciate the dirt lot.
So
hey, at least we don't have mushrooms anymore.
And you guys don't take these colorations and stuff, and so we're not looking at pink trees or anything like that, but it actually is kind of fun. So I think we're not done with coloring this. I think this is really basically just to show scale and sort of feel. Is there another, I think we have another slide, do we?
Nope, that's
Okay.
it.
That
So,
looks like all we got.
and there is more to come. You know, as soon as we get it to the point where, you know, we're comfortable with the design, I'll put some billboards and posters up on the lot so that you guys can have a better feel. Obviously happy to make any presentations that you folks want us to make. We had a presentation that Councilmember Richardson set up for us. I think it was last year, and at the high school. And I would have to say, honestly, like on a personal note, I was really blown away by the intellect and the diversification of the neighborhood. And that meeting really helped us a lot, just really understanding what people want and what people are like. You know, I was pleasantly surprised. And, you know, I'll never forget, and I've used this in other presentations where somebody from the neighborhood talked about like, hey, we mow our lawns and our homes all look great. And, you know, we just got to get off of Atlantic, and that's where we're, and we don't, you know, we don't have our friends over because we don't want them to see Atlantic. So I mean, I really took that to heart. So I think this idea of us teaming up with the city and really beautifying Atlantic is, I think honestly that would make a big difference. So, okay, so I mean, I can go on. I would have to say this meeting that was discussed earlier, the city meeting that happened on Tuesday, for us, you guys, that was really a big deal because, you know, we've gone ahead and done all of this work, just assuming it was going to get approved. And I think those of you who have worked in other cities, you know that there's no guarantees, you know. So I think the fact that it got approved really, really was, you know, massive hurdle for us. So now it's just all go. And we've got our marching orders and a fairly aggressive timeline in now just getting these plans stamped so we can break ground on this project. So it's all real. Happy to share with you also that, you know, this project will not get affected by the pandemic. Quite honestly, you know, we operate many in the hundreds of restaurants and retail, and I would have to say we've gotten hit pretty hard, as you guys can imagine. And the lab, as you know, it stands for Little American Businesses. So we don't do Starbucks deals or McDonald's deals, and so I mean, I'm really hurting for my tenants, you know, because they honestly are just, you know, if they can't operate, they can't pay rent, they can't pay their employees, and so it hasn't been pretty, you know, and most of these folks just have the life savings in building these neighborhood businesses. So it's been tough for the industry, but I am happy to say that this project is financed and this project is not affected by the COVID. So that's really a great news. So it's all set to go, which I think it's a pretty, and particularly now that we got the zoning done, you know, it's all moving forward. So I appreciate really everyone's patience on this. It took us a while. We got a little bit more work to do on the site. You know, if you guys have noticed, by the way, there's an electrical line that runs in the middle of this whole thing. So we got to bury this and dig out South Street. And so there's a lot of stuff. And I guess we just found some contamination on the dirt that we've got to clean up. I guess there used to be a gas station and a dry cleaner in here. So we got a little bit of cleaning up to do, but we'll get through it. So.
Thank you. I'm going to add just a couple things before you get to Q&A. So you probably know that there's vacant lots all around the library and those vacant storefronts just south of South Street. And there are the plans south of South Street and the plan for some of these additional sites are just as quality as what you see here. You know, we're in negotiations with Long Beach City College right now on a 5-year lease for the building that's right next to the library, for them to have a location. You know, there's, you know, Shaheen's leasing team just south of South Street's making some great progress on, you know, I don't want to, you know, spill the beans if they're not ready, but it's some pretty cool ideas that they have just south of South Street and some of those storefronts there. I think people will be excited for that. And just think about the experience that your neighborhood will have. I mean, you can already walk to a library, but it's not a very pleasant walk. You know, you're going to be able to, with this project, you're going to be able to walk to a cafe, coffee shop, restaurants, a library, potentially a city college site, all within walking distance from your neighborhood. And with what we did with Upland for Atlantic Avenue, it sets the stage for even more economic activity, the things that you guys have sought since, you know, for many years. And you guys were very clear when I took office, the kinds of things that you wanted, you know, food and coffee shops and banks and libraries and those things. And that's what you're getting. And it's set up to develop in, you know, for the years to come with Upland. So the last thing I'll say here is that what is the connective tissue to bring it all together? There's still some more work that needs to be done once these projects happen. One, we have to get our business improvement district back on track, because that's going to tie all of this together. There needs to be a voice for this corridor that can help guide not just the development, but the deal making that will have to take place in the next decade. And so it's incredibly important that the business improvement district really retool, because they were founded when there were vacant lots. But now we have actual developments and businesses that are gonna need actual services. And so we're gonna need the support of the neighborhood to make sure that we demand that of our business improvement district, and we continue to build more capacity, because that's gonna be the connective tissue to bring all of this together, all this together on this corridor. So I'll just stop there.
If I may add, thank you for sharing that, Council Member. So one of the other ideas that we want to execute is there's an empty lot next to Michelle Library, and I had promised the council member that we would activate it. We honestly have been so focused on trying to get this project up and going, because I really, as I mentioned earlier, you know, if I can get this off the ground, I think it would really change the dynamics and create some excitement. And even pre-COVID, quite honestly, when we shared this area with tenants, you know, again, we work with small tenants, and most of them, you know, felt like they can go downtown Long Beach because they can get, you know, sort of a third generation restaurant or something. So it was just a harder sell. I think with this project, I think it's really going to help sort of activate. But the point that I wanted to share is I would love to do a outdoor food truck, put an Airstream in there, move a container in there, and serve coffee and just kind of make it into a neighborhood. You know, I used to live in Brooklyn. I went to design and art school there, and there was an empty lot between the brownstones, and that lot really became, you know, it became sort of the veggie garden. And it became the place. It became the community center, because on the weekends we grab a cup of coffee and we just go, you know, just chat with our neighbors. So I want this lot to be something that, you know, you guys could use and go grab a cup of coffee and take the dog. And so if you guys are interested, the products that we're offering will be 100% free. So there's no payment in terms of the operator. So I think we want the product. And if we can get somebody from the community to go do a coffee place there, again, it's no rent. We would love that. So please, perhaps through Matt, you know, you can contact us. I'd love to sit down and chat with you guys and see how we can collaborate, just so we can get some activity going while we're under construction. And I also want to fulfill my promise to Councilmember Richardson, because he's really been pushing for that. And on that note, we have, if you guys have noticed, on south of South Street, we just repainted all the storefronts, and we're going to add some art. You know, we want to make it, you know, we just want to make it artsy. You know, we want to make it like a real neighborhood, you know. And so if anybody's interested in having a business there, anything with food or a brewery or anything like that, that's, again, think about what, you know, your neighbors want. I would love to talk to you. Again, unfortunately, I can't do all of that for free, but it'll be really a good deal, because I have to underwrite it in terms of our construction financing. But it's, man, I would want nothing more than just having the neighbors build within the neighborhood, you know, but we'll work with any of you guys in any way. And with that said, the way our company's set up, we're not looking for 50 years of experience. We've done many deals where it's the first time operators. And I can share with you, as an example, if you look up George's, which is a restaurant at the Packing House, and she is doing phenomenal. She actually has a couple locations now, and I believe
I want in Long Beach now.
Yeah, there's one in Long Beach now, and I would say honestly, I don't want to screw this up, but I think she's in her 70s, late 70s, or maybe 80s. And this is the first time she had a restaurant, and it was her husband's recipe. It's technically, Southern soul food, and she's just kicked butt. We've got 34 tenants in there, and she's probably one of the best foods. And even during the pandemic, she's just done really well. So that just shows she has the passion. She's never owned the restaurant before, and it's like it's probably one of the coolest and the most successful restaurants we've done. So we're willing to take the chance. So please communicate with us, because that's the kind of, again, we don't do Subway deals and McDonald's deals, and we're not looking for national tenants. We're looking for a neighborhood serving product.
I see a lot of people in the chat. They're going to have good questions, but I see people talking about black green coffee. I have some advice for you. One thing I love to do is just go into different shops and ask for the manager, and ask for the owner, and say, hey, we'd love to have you in our neighborhood. I love doing that. I would say, think outside the box. Doesn't have to be Black Ring. I know Black Ring's popular and they've already located here, but I think that you should go to different independent coffee shops across the city and just say, I'm from North Long Beach. We have development taking place, and we're looking for an independent coffee shop. Where's the card of your manager? Where's the card of your owner? And that stuff actually works. And if you do that, you set up some time, you get that over to us, we can help make the connection, because believe it or not, it happens. So I just want to say, like, we've talked to Black Ring, maybe they'll be interested, but they weren't interested when we approached them before. But there are so many Black Rings in Long Beach, as well as our surrounding cities, Paramount, Bellflower. Go talk to these folks. This is the way deals happen.
Well, I think you're right. That's the way we've done our deals.
Right.
We basically find good people that are, mom and pops for the most part. But what I was trying to share, we're also done deals with people that just have the passion. So we're willing to, take the risk. We're not looking for some huge resume,
All right. So you guys ready for some Q&A?
Yeah, let's
Sure,
go ahead.
go for it.
All right. You guys want to use the raise hand feature?
You guys want to get
chime in?
Well, why don't we go ahead and do this? We had a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Shaheen. We had a couple of questions that popped up in the chat already. Maybe we'll start with those, and then we can go to live questions. Does that work?
Absolutely.
So Hillary asked, how much room is there for residents to give feedback on the design?
Well, you guys, look, I think at the end of the day, some of this is just logistics, meaning you have to have X amount of units, you have to have X amount of parking, it's just by code, I was listening to Dan's comment earlier, which I think it's pretty cool that, it's sort of being design oriented. So I think the best thing to do right now is, I would love to hear whatever ideas you got, even if they're wacky. I think it's really less about, if you tell us to go paint it pink, we're going to go paint it pink, and more about like, what's the thinking and what's important to you guys. And I think so, really the idea is that try to integrate as much as you can, within the logistics of the codes and all that, so I wouldn't be shy if I don't think any idea is a bad idea. It's just how much of it can get executed, and so forth. So yeah, bring it on. I mean, I think it would be nice if you guys want to consolidate it, and maybe send us some bullet points, we would love that.
And more specifically, I would say formal process, planning commission. That's the formal process, submitting, comments officially. That process is happening, right? But within that, so it's already been approved and entitled by the planning commission. Unless there's a big change, it doesn't have to go back to the planning commission. But the planning commission didn't get into the colors and these different adjustments and some things people may have questions about. So I would say, rather than ask about what's the appropriate time to do it, how about you just tell us what it is you're hoping to accomplish? And that's probably going to be a more effective question.
So it's the project's called The Beat. We definitely want to get the beat in the neighborhood. So.
The beat of the neighborhood, right?
Councilmember Richardson, to that, I'm sure there are people, they're going to have ideas tonight, but they may have ideas in the future.
Right.
Would it be possible, if we're talking about consolidating, for them to email perhaps your office and say, you know, these are some of my ideas about the beat, and have you all facilitate perhaps consolidating those comments and sending them to Lab Holdings?
Yeah, sure. Or if you guys want to consolidate as the Forest Parks comments post this meeting, that might even be better.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, the meeting will go on goes on our website, and then we're live streaming it now to Facebook.
Okay.
So
what I was gonna say is, rather than a lot of universal comments coming in from all places, it'd be great to hear the perspectives of the Forest Park Association.
okay,
Right.
fabulous.
I think that would be strong.
Yeah, if I second that, Joni, I love that idea. And what would help if it's all consolidated, I think instead of just getting 2 emails a day,
Mhm.
I think if I get it all and maybe put it on a timeline, like in the next week, that way I can have it all in front of us so we can kind of get, we can get the full story.
Okay.
I think that would be productive, and I can work with the council member's office to have you all have the discussion and also have the information.
Okay,
Right.
that sounds great.
All right.
And then we had a couple of just very specific questions about the development that's right there at South and Atlantic. So one was just about parking. So how many parking spots will be per unit, basically, for each townhouse?
Well, let's see. I apologize. Each city has a different code, but this project is all soft parked, so we're not looking for any outside parking. I think the area that we will probably ask for some help is a retail, and I think it's really less about, well, it's just as much about the convenience as I alluded to. I'd love for people to we want the village, we want people to pull up and just go get a cup of coffee and not have to pull into some structure, So as we sit here today, there is 10 parking spots that we could use. And what we have asked the city is, please do the angle parking or even parallel parking. We want to slow down traffic in that whole area. And, or if that's something that cannot be done, there is a city lot right next to the liquor store there on the corner. It actually, I believe it falls under District 8. And if we can have the ability to use 10 spots there. And that's just for really just the convenience of the retail, but all of the residential, everything parks inside of the envelope.
Okay.
And all the parking for the housing is already on site. They're not depending on anything off site for any of the housing. So if people are worried about parking impacts, what he's talking about for the retail uses.
That's correct.
Each of the units will already have 2 units of parking for each unit.
Yes.
Great. And then this may be too early to ask this, but we did have a question about, the first question was, will these units be for rent or for sale? And then if they're going to be for sale, is there an idea of price point?
Well, I think we're leaning towards sale. Our partners on this are Brandy Wine. They've done some nice work in Long Beach. And honestly, I think I would probably be irresponsible to throw a number out, but the numbers obviously have to work within the neighborhood.
Okay.
We're designing them to be within the range of really what sells in that area. So they're not, these are, I don't want to say, look, they're really beautiful, but we're not looking at building high-end $1 million units here.
Great, thank you. I believe that was the end of just kind of those general questions. So is there anyone in the meeting right now, participants who would like to unmute themselves and ask Shaheen a specific question?
I have a question. So in regards to the feedback, there's like so many ideas, so many questions that are coming to mind right now. And is there like a deadline, a time where like no more feedback is welcomed. The design is nearly finished to solidified. So
Well,
that we
Hillary, we're actually on a daily basis working with the building department right now to get the plans, all the different components approved. So I would say, quite honestly, the sooner the better. I think next week, obviously, is going to be a slow week because of Thanksgiving. So maybe in the next 2 weeks, I think if you got something to us in 2 months, I think it'll be harder for me to. Now, having said that, look, if it has to do with color or, aesthetics, non-structural stuff, we can definitely react to that. But I think when it comes to structural, it just as an example, like these are designed right now to be like these townhouses where they all have these little patios on the street because, I don't want to see buildings right on the street edge, because it's too much of an urban and I really love, again, I really think we have to work hard to make this into a village. So I think any of those types of comments in terms of what else we can do to make it into a village, to make it walkable, where you're just, you're walking the neighborhood with your dog and you stop and you get coffee. Like we just want, this has got to get comfortable, it's got to be user friendly. Right now the sidewalks are so tight, even on District 8, there's no, and particularly, I know I'm rambling on, but just some things to share with you guys. One of the challenges, like wherever we've had outdoor space, these restaurants actually have survived, but where there's no outdoor space, they're shut down because, so I think post-COVID outdoor is going to be really important. I think a lot of people are still, particularly here in California, because we've got this beautiful weather. That's why we live here, right? So I think if you guys have any ideas in terms of, hey, if you did this, I'd like to have a little, mini park inside of here or a little garden space. I can just go have tea in the afternoon at 4, I think those are all, I think we can, that's the kind of stuff I like to hear up front because, we can try to incorporate as much of that as we can. By the way,
So do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Hi, Shaheen. My name's Courtney. I live a couple blocks away, and my husband and I bought our house on 59th Street, and then you announced this project like 2 months later, so we're
nice.
pretty excited. So I'm a local real estate agent in the area. I'm no way pitching myself to you right now, by the way, but this is just knowing kind of the trends of what people are looking for in the city. North Long Beach and specifically DeForest Park in our neighborhood now. It's kind of the last bastion of affordability in the area for families to afford. Right. I guess we lucked out and got our house for a steal, but houses surrounding us right now are going for $500,000 to $600,000, which even 3 years ago was unheard of, right? So I guess I have a couple questions. My first question is, have you guys, Rex, Matt, have you thought of maybe implementing any city first-time buyer programs to a couple of these units for affordable housing, especially in North Long Beach? Because I think that I think you'd get I think it'd be a huge opportunity for families to be able to sink their teeth in, and then you'll get home ownership for people in our neighborhood, and that would be huge. So I think that if you haven't thought about something like that, there you go. I think that would be a really awesome opportunity to present itself, especially to the types of, you're seeing a lot of people, late 20s, early 30s, my age, moving in with kids, and it's awesome. It's exciting to see. So I think that would help really give you that community feel that we're so desperate for up here. And my second question is, parking is pretty impacted up here, so I hate to bring that up again. But my question is knowing that some of these units are probably going to have multiple cars, have you guys planned for that? Because a lot of the houses that surround me right now have 3, 4, 5, some even have 6 cars attached to the house. So it's an issue and it's impacting. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Well, Courtney, thanks for your comments. I actually would love to get your contact because I've got a few ideas that I want to run by you. And
cool, I'd love it.
maybe we can help each other. So I think Matt has my email, so please feel free to contact me.
I would
Courtney,
love it.
so-
I'd like to get more involved with this project in general, just because.
No, it sounds, we'd love for you to.
Awesome, thank you.
So Courtney, look, to answer your first question, I think anybody building in this area obviously has a ceiling on price because, so it honestly just becomes a financing mechanism. In other words, I love to sell this stuff for $150,000, but there's no way we're going to get financed or built for that, So I think the idea here is not to chase people out. I mean, that's totally non-productive for us. I think the idea is to bring people in, or if there are people in the neighborhood want to, move into a different situation. So, I mean, I can promise you, and I can talk to my building partners here, which is Brandywine, and get a little bit better range. But I think part of our selection was that, they seem very reasonable and they built down the street, as you guys know, very successfully, So I think everybody's very price sensitive, and there's an art to it. I have to be honest. So I think the thing is, it's really less about if we sell it for $1 million, we're going to make a lot more money. I mean, sure, but that's not that simple. It's really, we also have to sell them, and you got to move this product because it's a financing mechanism, as I mentioned. So I think we're obviously price sensitive. The idea is to deliver like really high quality stuff at most affordable as possible. I'm very familiar with the, challenges of housing. I think regardless of where you live, it could be in your neighborhood, it could be in, South Orange County. I mean, everybody's kind of going through the same struggle. I think in relation to parking, look, obviously, if we don't meet code, we're not going to get our plan stamped or approved. And so this is built by code, and as I alluded earlier, everything is parked on site, and there's some guest parking as well. But do they have 6-car garages? No. I think the idea, I think part of the master plan here is how about a bike lane, and how about I think, and I'm saying this really, it's really less of a sales job, but this is what we want to accomplish. Like, if I can't get the people down the street to walk over here and get a cup of coffee, then I fail. So I want walkability, and this is designed for we're not designing this for people from LA to come down and eat, By the way, if they do that, they're welcome to. But I've got to make sure that the neighborhood supports these businesses. And if ends up being some badass restaurant that people from LA want to go to because they got the best barbecue or something, that's awesome. And honestly, when we planned the packing house, we did it exactly the same. I said the same thing. If I can't get the guy from across the street to come and use, to eat here, then I fail, and now we get people from everywhere, So, so your points are actually really valid, and they're very sensitive, and I appreciate that. And obviously there's an art to achieving all of that. But I don't see, I think, parking is probably sort of the biggest challenge for most developments. Well, let's just say pre-COVID, it certainly was, and now we're allowed to use our parking lot for outdoor seating and stuff. So I'm curious to see how the world is going to operate after that. And I was hoping the cities would be a little bit more lenient with some of this outdoor space post-COVID. But I think the idea here is to, let's park as much, be practical, have a couple of spaces per unit, have some guest parking. But it's not going to make sense for us. There's no way we would pencil having a 4 or 5 car garage for a small unit here,
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll grab your contact information from Matt.
Hey, by the way, let me say this, and I don't want to put Council Member Richardson on the spot here because he's been sort of the champion of this. Man, if we can get street parking, you guys, up and down the street, honestly, I think, it's just, the world is changing, and I don't want to sort of lecture you guys because I think most of you guys get it. It's not about cars anymore. It's about people, It's kind of like, you go to Manhattan, and on Sundays, pre-COVID, they shut down Park Avenue, and it's like a park, and man, there's 100,000 people on Park Avenue riding their bikes and their dogs, and there's food, and I think what we have to do is we got to share these streets. So I think the idea of having these part of your parking problem could be solved if you had street parking for some of these businesses. Even the businesses we're going to open on Atlantic, just south of South Street. Man, I think those people are going to want to park on the street and pop in. Nobody wants to go pull into parking lots somewhere. It's just, it doesn't make sense in today's environment. So
I'll add to it. So, and we funded the study. It requires everything you do when you change the way traffic flows and where parking is. It requires a study. We funded that study. Well, we should be able to give some direction very soon. But I've been vocally supportive of the road diet on Atlantic. I think there's some good questions in the chat. Lori Angel's raised some stuff about the size of the units. I believe they're 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom. Is that right?
There are 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. So there's some 4 bedrooms, and let's see. I don't know if I have the sizes, to be honest, on top of my head. So
yeah, and more of that'll come out. It went through the planning process, but more details on that can come out. Additionally, this site technically can go up to 4 levels, and it's at 3. It could be more dense. We advocated to keep the intensity low, sheerly because of what people want. Concerns around parking. We want to be balanced. Stacking it up with too many units would certainly have an impact. Some may say it may help the businesses. Some may say it may make it more difficult for the neighbors. So this is the right balance, I think. Keeping it at 3-level townhomes. And right now the plan is ownership, but we'll see when we get a little bit closer. The idea here is ownership. In terms of the down payment assistance program, that's something I've made a motion at City Council to create one. We haven't been able to find the funding, and if we're able to creatively figure out a program to do it specifically here to incentivize local folks to buy these things, I'm totally open to it. So the angel's in the details, I like to say. We would just have to work with Shaheen, work with Brandywine, see if there's a special program we can craft and how the city can participate in that program. And economics tell you there's no such thing as a free lunch. Locking in affordability in housing sometimes costs $180,000 to $120,000 a unit easily, just to lock in the affordability rate. Where would that money come from, right? You take $100,000 times 80 units, right? And you just do the math, right? So that's $8.4 million subsidy in order to make that happen. And without redevelopment, Lori Angel remembers redevelopment days. Might have been possible back then. Nowadays, we're still looking for ways to finance these things. Now, there are other affordable housing developments within the works, and then within the up plan, within land use elements, created some opportunities to create more housing. But on a project like this, it definitely would take subsidies to make that happen. Heavy duty subsidies, $8 to $10 million to make something like that happen. So those are just some of my thoughts. So I think the parking will be fine. 2 units per. It's not too intense on the site. It's within scale of the neighborhood. This isn't going to be towering over everything else that's there, right? It's going to be in scale with the neighborhood, but it absolutely will do what you all charged us to do, is make Atlantic Avenue the main street for North Long Beach. Your public living room, the place you can walk down the street safely, well lit, get a cup of coffee, go to the library, check out a book, enjoy your neighborhood. That is the plan. This project will be a catalyst for that for the whole corridor. And eat, yeah, right, Lori, and eat.
I think too, but we used to live down on Broadway and Redondo, and part of why we love that corridor so much is it was so bike accessible. And biking is something that I miss immensely. Used to be able to go up and down the bike path and go to the restaurants in 2nd Street and 4th Street and so on and so forth. So I can't wait to see what you implement. I think it's going to be such a great project for the neighborhood in general, and you have a lot of support on your side. So go uptown. I'm excited to see what happens. Thanks, Shane.
Well, the council members got me in a headlock, so I've got to deliver this thing.
I might have you in one too, but it's all right.
We promise the neighborhood association will do their best to hold back the protests outside of around the development. No marches just yet. It's
Neiman
probably,
Marcus.
it's probably a good time to actually ask you about timeline. So what's the kind of anticipated timeline we're working with here?
We would like to get our plans stamped here literally in the next 2 to 3 months. And as soon as we get, and at this point, not to pass the buck, it's really less about, you know, how fast we can go, but how fast we can get it through the city planning and so forth. And so, and I think as soon as that's completed, we think we can build this in, I bet we could do it in 12 months. And it might go to 18, depending on, you know, where we are in terms of construction and so forth. You know, construction people are actually really busy right now because, as I alluded to,
Right.
you know, housing is actually still pretty strong, you know. So we've done a lot of planning, so this is just a matter of just getting it through the, you know, getting it stamped.
You know, I'll tell you, you won't. It's going to pick up now because, you know, most of the front end work is done. Once you start seeing the material construction begin, you're going to be watching a project. You're going to be watching
Yeah, it'll go fast.
elevation change, you know.
Yeah. And the zoning is done, that was a huge deal.
Right.
I mean, even if I had this thing stamped, you know, a year ago, I couldn't build it without the zoning. So we've done all that work. Just yet we kind of risked it, but I think it worked out.
Right. And so again, once you start seeing material construction begin, so once he's got all this stuff in the city, he gets a green light. Submit his construction drawings, get the approval, you can start. So you'll see construction start next year. And once you see construction start, it's all downhill from there. You're just going to build excitement. People are going to start the lease up process. It's going to be exciting. You're start hearing announcements of restaurants that are coming. So the excitement starts next year on this project.
And we have a vaccine.
We'll see.
As your neighborhood epidemiologist, I'll say we are cautiously optimistic.
Johnny,
Well, the reality is it's going to take a long time. You guys should be preparing for a 3-year event here. We're only at year 1. So maybe by the end of next year, they start deploying the vaccine, but deploying the vaccine doesn't mean we're out of this. So be prepared for this, guys.
Very true.
So I've got a couple of questions. Number one, have you considered reverse diagonal parking to slow the traffic flow? It'll stop it from being, even if the lights are synced, it'll slow the traffic and make it more walkable.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Have we proposed?
Thank you.
Yes. Are we going to get it approved?
No.
I mean, I know that the council member has been supportive of that, honestly, you know. I think, again, that just falls out of my division. I got to get
Right.
to approve that.
It's a public works thing, Dan. It's in the city's wheelhouse.
Well, there's one other thing that we could do, and that is on-demand lighted sidewalks, crosswalks. That will also do it. Will help slow it. So those are
We're
a
gonna need
couple
some
of
grant
options.
funds. We're looking for some grant funds to do some of that stuff, some of those creative enhancements.
Why don't you talk to your council buddies to donate some of their office holder accounts?
Yeah, I'm sorry. $20,000 ain't gonna buy you a button in public
60
works.
grand.
Sorry.
60 grand's too much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Office holder account is not gonna buy you a light bulb, and unfortunately,
Not in our area, it won't. So are there any other questions? Okay, that's pretty good. We're done ahead of time as usual. 8:15, 1 minute ahead usual.
Oh,
Any other questions, Keith?
I had a question about, I think, is there anything we can ask Lynette about as far as grant funding that will be like set aside for the things that we spoke about?
so there's, you know, I'm not the congressperson, but I will tell you that we're engaged in.
He's on the line. I was asking.
Yeah. No, what I was gonna say is we should all be preparing for what it looks like in advocating for HEROES Act and Moving Forward Act. Those are two bills that will have direct impacts on Long Beach, hundreds of millions of dollars potentially. HEROES Act would have had somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million to help support Long Beach through the pandemic, funding for school, all those things, had funding for PPEs and all that. But the Moving Forward Act is an infrastructure act, similar to President Obama's economic stimulus. So that would be transportation funding, public facilities, streets, roads, bridges, housing funding, and broadband funding. So that's the bill you guys should pay attention to. It used to be called HR2. We'll see what the bill will be numbered when the House comes back in. But that's what the city is looking forward to, getting shovel-ready projects for those types of funding.
I just wanted to add that also included within the Moving Forward Act is a bill that the Congresswoman introduced, the Climate Smart Ports Bill, which would provide electrification to the port of LA Long Beach. This would be a program administered through the EPA. And so that was included within the Moving Forward Act, as well as the Congresswoman's Outdoors for All Act, to provide outdoor space and prioritize within communities, particularly across LA County, where we're so far below the national average for open space. Lastly, I just wanted to add though, if there are particular federal grants or non-federal grants that are being pursued for relation to this project or otherwise in Uptown, please do let our office know, and the Congresswoman would certainly look forward to supporting those efforts.
Absolutely.
Any
All right.
any other questions? Going once, going twice?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Dan, we've got a few announcements.
All right, go ahead, Ryan.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Rex. Good job once again.
We are launching our 6th annual Christmas light contest this year. It'll start this coming Friday after Thanksgiving through December 31st. Deadline to enter is December 20th by 5 p.m. Just need your name, address, phone, and at least one photo or video of your display. And then we will have online voting again December 21st, which will close at 11:59 p.m. on December 31st.
And if you wanna know the display to beat, you can go by our board member Ryan's house. He has his sync to is it Coast 103.5? Do you have your lights synced to that?
No, it's my own songs. It's all synced, but it's all pre-recorded. But I do have my own. I had to change the frequency this year because someone moved in on my frequency.
We have he's an overachiever over there on a dare. Dan, are you going to open it up to public comment?
Go ahead.
Oh, would anyone else like to make any announcements? We allow public comment for up to 3 minutes at the end of all of our meetings. So if anyone has anything they'd like to share, please do so.
I just have one thing to say. So the area around just north of the library was intended at one point to be housing as well. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I know housing's more lucrative. And so I was hoping there, I don't know what the proportion of housing to retail is. Hopefully it's not too much housing, but there's enough retail. I don't know necessarily what's being planned for south of South Street. We don't really hear anything about that. And I'm not quite sure how it's going to complement the efforts north of South Street. So I'm kind of looking forward to some kind of comprehensive understanding of what's going to be put together, because it's a little disjointed. Living in the 8th, we just don't really hear too much about what's going on.
I'm happy to comment on that, Lori, from just give you a quick update. So our intention was to preserve the buildings just south of South Street on Atlantic. We don't own all the buildings, by the way, but we own a handful. And so we've worked with Studio 111. The drawings are actually at the city, if you would like to look at them. And the whole idea there was to add a lot of restaurants and brewery and coffee shops and so forth. I would say the pandemic honestly has got us thinking again. And one of the challenges, as I mentioned, there's not much relief space there on Atlantic. The sidewalks are really narrow. So we've been talking to the city about developing some sort of a parklet plan so that people could actually sit outside. But while we're doing all of that, I think the pandemic is going to sort of be a game changer in terms of restaurants and how long would it take for the restaurants to recover. And I'm just being frank with you, a lot of the stuff downtown, as an example, the big redevelopment that happened there from I guess it was a Nordstrom's Rack or the outlet mall. I mean, that project just went back to the bank. So there's going to be a lot of space available that are second or third generation that are already built out for restaurants. So I think it's going to make it really hard to get leasing done, on Atlantic. So with that said, I would like to rethink about doing maybe mixed use there, where there is some residential. Again, residential is financeable and that market's still strong. Retail is not financeable these days. I think a lot of the banks, we've probably done a dozen deal with farmers and merchants there right out of Long Beach, and they're wonderful people, but they're just like, we're not, we're hitting the pause button on, financing restaurants and retail just based on where the market is. But we have a plan it's a residential kind of an arts community called Artery, which is right behind, on the street behind there next to the church. One of the buildings in the corner on South Street, some homeless people got in there and set it on fire. So now that that's happened, we might just tear it down instead of trying to rebuild it and tie it into the residential and do a mixed use. Maybe it's a work, some artist lofts, artist studios, working studios. So we're going to rethink that section. The lots that you were referring to that are north of the Michelle Obama Library, the immediate lot, it's a lease that we have from the city. We don't own it, but all of the small lots north of that, honestly, are just too small to do kind of a retail. So I think it would have to be some sort of a micro, what I would refer to as a micro residential, and they're all sort of disjointed. It's not a continuous type of a lot. So that's kind of what I see in those lots.
Thanks, Shaheen. Lori, did you have any follow-up questions? Oh, you're muted, Lori.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'm kind of surprised that we're doing just outside with COVID around with the restaurants, the outside plastic and whatever, which isn't sustainable. And I'm just wondering if like open air kinds of restaurants might work better, not outside, but maybe just open, like garage door style or like open windows and such like that, so people can get more circulation in. I mean, you could build it in and they'd be out like al fresco, but it would be more structure.
Well, Lori, that's I would love to share with you the plans because that's exactly what we've done. As a matter of fact, all of the product, every single one of the product that's on south of South Street, we literally just pushed all the storefronts in and we created patios because, as I mentioned earlier, there's no room on the sidewalks for outdoor seating, and then they all open up. So I think your comments are correct. I think this, you can only do so much inside of a tent. But I guess where I'm going with this is even post COVID, where there's going to be less regulations about having to eat outside, I think people are still going to want to have that outdoor environment. So I agree. I think to have outdoor space. It's just that the buildings that are there are just not conducive to that. That's really the challenge because there's no outdoor space. It was designed as an urban kind of a they're all sandwiched in, and the sidewalk there is like 3 feet, it seems like. So, you know, that's why we might have to rethink it. But incidentally, I'm happy to share with you the drawings that we have. I think it'd be pleasant to see. It's really the type of thing you were referring to.
All right, well, that sounds fantastic. Thanks so much, Shaheen. I think that gives people a better understanding of kind of how the entire development, right, up and down Atlantic is going to be cohesive and support our community, which I think is what we're all really concerned with here.
Thank you.
And so with that, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I want to thank Shaheen for joining us. Trust us when we say we'll be inviting you back again in 2020 as shovels get in the dirt and all of that, and to see what the timeline is and the types of things that are going in. And we'll make sure to be coordinating with our community regarding getting you some really good feedback. We've already gotten some in the chat here and some through social media. And so we'll make sure to put out some email blasts and some communication through our social media channels, et cetera, to make sure that people are really engaged in this process. I mean, they already are, but just to making sure that people know that you're receptive to the feedback and are welcoming it. So, and I think that's going to be really exciting for the people in the neighborhood. So
that's awesome. Thank you very much, Joni. I really appreciate it.
And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Anybody? Ryan's throwing his hand up, so I'm going to say that's it. That's the motion. Do you want to make a second?
Seconded.
Seconded. All right. And we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your evenings with us. Please let the folks, your neighbors, etc., know about this meeting. Let them know they can go on social media, go on our website, and view it for themselves. And we really do want their feedback. I'll put our contact information is all on our Facebook page and also on our website. So our email is info@deforestpark.org. And then our website is at the same thing, deforestpark.org. So we're really easy to get a hold of as a neighborhood association, and we welcome you guys continuing to engage. So you all have a wonderful night and a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Thank you for having me. Peace.
And we'll see everyone in 2021, as this is our last meeting of 2021, except for our board meeting.
Yes.
So long, 2020.
Well, folks, have a great evening.
You will not be missed.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Have a great night.